Trump's throwing a temper tantrum again. What's new? The breakdown starts now. Good evening and welcome to the breakdown. I'm Tara Setmayer. This is the Rick Wilson, and we are with you this week. What a week. We had New Hampshire primary results. We've got Trump back in court again. We've got a potential standoff down on the border with border agents and the feds if it's up to Trump. We've got, what else have we got going on this week? I don't know, Rick. Little this, little of that.
We got Trump on a an 8 p.m. to 4 a.m.
bender.
Social bender, like Loco Town.
All because Nikki Haley came in second in the New Hampshire primary and refused to drop out of the race. He's throwing an epic freaking tantrum. And I've got to tell you, Rick, I was on NBC this week. You guys were doing the countdown, and we were watching this in real time. And Tom Yamas, who was the moderator of the NBC show, he said to Hogan Gidley, who we've known for a long time, who went to the dark side and worked for Trump. I hadn't seen Hogan in years, by the way. And I'm sitting next to him, and he goes, why is Trump so angry? He won. And Hogan tried to, hem and haw and try to make an excuse for it. And I said, no. He's mad because he can't stand the fact that a woman in power isn't bending the knee. He can't stand it. He just had his court jesters behind him, singing his praises and being sycophants up there on stage with him. And Nikki Haley, to her credit, at least she's fighting him now. I mean, a little too late, I think, but good for her now. Yeah, I'll take it now. Good. But she's refusing to back down for now. And Trump can't stand it. And he has gone after her in the most vicious ways. And the other funny thing about that too, Rick, is how many people last week after the Iowa caucuses were like, oh my God, Trump was so gracious.
He was so dignified.
I mean, this is the campaign has really gotten him disciplined. And we were like, yeah, okay.
Come on.
Okay.
You and I have talked about this. Whenever Trump is doing well, that's when he behaves the worst.
It's so
when
true.
He's ahead and he knows he's got something in the bag. That's when the bad Trump comes out even more than usual.
Yep. He can't help himself. He just cannot help himself. And I'm sure that Chris LaCivita and Susie Wiles on Tuesday, since Tuesday to now, are in a perpetual, because they've actually run a pretty decent campaign.
I had been told that LaCivita was outside the headquarters on election night in New Hampshire, looking like somebody had killed his dog. Because I promise you, Donald Trump was like, you told me we'd have a 25-point win, you bastard.
Yep.
And I've also picked up from several sources now, Corey Lewandowski shows up at the event.
In New Hampshire.
Jared Kushner's on the phone with him again all the time. Oh, what could be happening here? I can't imagine what's going on with those guys.
Listen.
Steve Bannon, don't let them make you into a weak cuck, Don.
You guys heard it here first. If Chris LaCivita gets fired and is replaced with Corey Lewandowski, or
greatest day ever,
if Lewandowski shows back up on the campaign team, you know that it's downhill from there. Because that means that the bad Trump, the old, circus type of campaign is coming.
Yep. Listen, we're gonna have a really ugly moment, I suspect, when we get to a moment anywhere in this campaign where Trump's polls go down, or we start seeing a consistent series of polls in a state like Pennsylvania showing Biden up.
Mm-hmm.
Because Donald Trump is not a man who accepts that kind of failure, even though he may be the one causing it. By his behavior, his tweets, his actions, his bullshit, all that craziness.
Yeah.
This could get very ugly for those people in the campaign. I mean, really ugly.
Yep. And it's only January. I have to say, like, do you remember in 2016 or 2020 when Van Jones said tonight was the night Donald Trump became
It's
presidential?
16. That
It
was
was
in
16,
16.
right? And I remember thinking, "What? Are you serious? Like, get the fuck out
I'm
of
like,
here."
love you, man, but no.
Like, come on, Van. I
No.
understand you're trying to, have a different take here, but dude, that did not age well. And I feel
No.
like that's the same thing for people last week when they were saying how this is a different Trump and oh, he's much more disciplined. He was so gracious, so gracious. And we're just sitting back saying, just wait, just wait. This is nothing. It's only January. And the longer Nikki Haley stays in, the longer it's going to irk him. And the more he's going to make mistakes. So if she brings any value by staying in, because I still don't believe she has a path, this is the value of it. It makes him make
Right.
mistakes. And that's good for those of us who are on the pro-democracy side of things,
100%.
because the people we're targeting, what do we call them? The Bannon line folks, or we call them Dobbs dads now, and because the Dobbs aspect of it is in there. That group,
Dobbs dads, Red Dawn conservatives. There's a whole bunch of
right,
typology stuff under
right.
there.
But it all started with the Bannon line in 2020. Now I think it's double digits. And every time he does this, that Bannon line gets bigger and bigger of gettable Republicans and
That's right.
moderates
That's right.
that say we're not doing this again. We can't.
I mean, Tara, the idea right now that Donald Trump will conform his behavior for another 290 days is absolute madness. Now, I want to say one other thing about his late night tweet session that is something you and I have talked about with people for a million times. You and I've talked about it on fundraising trips with people everywhere else on the show. All the major donors heard that or saw that one truth post last night that said anybody who donates to Nikki Birdbrain,
banned permanently,
will be banned from MAGA movement for life. That could not be more of a fascist, extortionate statement if he tried.
I know
that you're going to tell donors, by the way, if you don't give to me, I will destroy you. Is Mussolini 101, folks.
It is. Do we have that? Because I don't know that everybody saw. Because he puts it on Truth, and unless like on X they have a an account that kind of
moderates that follows it.
Yeah, I think we have a graphic of it. And Michelle, whenever you get a chance, if you get it, we'll put it up so that we can actually read the full thing, because I think it's important for people.
Actually, Michelle, that long Nikki Haley truth.
That one.
There we go.
There it is. And I'm actually going to read part of it.
Yeah, please.
Nikki Birdbrain Haley, that's his new nickname for her, is very bad for the Republican Party and indeed our country. Her false statements, derogatory comments, and humiliating public loss is demeaning to true American patriots. Her anger, her anger should be aimed at her third-rate political consultants. Like he's talking about third-rate, please. Her third-rate political consultants, and more importantly, crooked Joe Biden. Get a new phrase, dude. And those that are destroying our country, not the people who will save it. I knew Nikki well. She was average at best. Well, you hired her, Don.
Right. All the best. I thought you hired the best people.
Right,
Don.
only the best people, but she was average. Well, who hired her, idiot? I think we should do dramatic readings of Trump's things more often, actually, as I'm doing this.
We were doing them this morning in the bathroom at 6 a.m., and it was kind of hilarious.
She was average at best, is not the one to take on world leaders, and she never did. That was up to me, and that is why they respected the United States. When I ran for office and won, I noticed that the losing candidates, quote, donors, would immediately come to me and want to help out. This is standard in politics, but no longer with me. Wham, 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 wham. Anybody that makes a contribution to Birdbrain, we forgot the quotes, from this moment forth, here it is, will be permanently barred from the MAGA camp. We don't want them, and we will not accept them because we put America first as always. This guy, I mean...
the greatest part of this would be if Trump actually kept his word on it and really effed a whole bunch of these Wall Street guys.
Yes, because then they finally...
Because it would give them an object lesson that he's not transactional.
Mm-hmm.
He's insane.
Mm-hmm.
He's insane. He is not a healthy human being. This guy is broken mentally. And if you try to negotiate with a crazy person, He's instead going to like size you up to make dinner out of your body, not to negotiate in good faith.
Never.
I'm blown away by how thick people can be about the darkness in this guy.
It's true. It's like, when has he ever negotiated in good faith? Ever. In his entire life. Even when he was a businessman, he never negotiated in good faith.
Right.
What makes them think now all of a sudden he's going to become someone that negotiates in good faith? They're all bullshitting themselves to rationalize things.
I know a bunch of real estate developers who did a couple deals with Trump in South Florida back in the 2000s. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it a broad range.
Yeah.
And this is before I was like the anti-Trump guy. But one of them asked me for some advice, and I said, he says, the guy's really slippery. They keep bullshitting the numbers. It goes back and forth. I'm like, well, you should just lie too. And they walked into a room, and a property that they wanted to buy from Trump for like $40 million. They were willing to pay $40 million. And he was like, it's 100. They like walked in, and they go, we've got 22.5. That's it. It's done. And he was like, okay.
Exactly.
I mean, he always lies, but he's bad at the business.
Yes. Ugh. Yes. And yes. But what he's not lying about, and when he is telling the truth, is when he's talking about his intentions.
That's right.
And LP put out a video called Promises that reminds us, like, when he's telling us those things that he's going to do, believe him. He means it. He means it.
Literally, take him literally.
If he means it. Michelle, if we have promises, let's run that.
I got rid of Roe v. Wade.
Well, should the woman be punished for having an abortion?
There has to be some form of punishment.
We will root out the radical left thugs that live like vermin.
You would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Trump wrote on social media, if you go after me, I'm coming after you.
He says, you're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one. I am your retribution.
He's not lying about that stuff.
Nope, he is not. That is dead serious. Take him seriously. Take him literally. And believe, folks, again, as much fun as it is right now to think, oh, Nikki Haley's going to troll him for a few weeks or months, the Republican Party tonight is out telling people they want to call a vote. They want to start. They want to cut off the rest of the primaries. They want to stop this thing. He's going to be the nominee in weeks, not months.
That's right.
And maybe even days, not weeks, if the RNC engages in some really high-level fuckery, which would be par for the course for Ronna Romney.
Yeah, that's right. And we've said this before. We said this a lot earlier than people were reporting on it. We probably said this like 2 years ago, actually, when this was starting to happen.
I think so.
They started changing the rules, right? That was something that the Trump people came in and went and used these mob strong arm tactics to the state and local parties and said, look, you need to elect our people, pro-MAGA state chairman and party chairman, so that you can change the primary rules. Because they did it. A lot of the states have winner take all now. They're not proportional with the delegates. And they stacked them early on as a firewall so that Trump only needed is 50+1. And it's not like before where it was proportional. It's not some states still have it, but most of them don't. So this thing is over no matter. And we've been trying to say this to people, but of course the mainstream media, they want the horse race because they're, on autopilot here.
The horse race industrial complex is real. Folks.
Yes. The political horse race industrial complex is what we're watching happen here. But we've been telling people forever that this thing is over by Super Tuesday. It's over no matter what. Because it doesn't matter. It didn't matter if Nikki Haley won New Hampshire or not. Whoa. It really didn't. Maybe she'd get a little bump, a little momentum, but that was not going to stop the Trump train. It wasn't. And it's not now.
And I mean, look, you can tell he knows he's going to win the primary because the behavior gets worse and worse.
Yes.
It gets darker and darker. It gets more and more exaggerated and overwrought and insane. And the fact that we're doing this, again, folks, and trying to walk you through again, to be ready and to start the fight now's the day. We're in this. At Lincoln, we're treating this as the general election as having begun already.
Correct.
It's time to get in that fight. It's time to push Trump as we do. It's time to identify the voters that we can reach and that you guys in the audience can help us reach. And part of that is as simple as sharing our content with people. We know it works. We know it moves hearts and minds. So if you guys that are watching now, do us a big favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get all of our content, and make sure you share it with your friends on your socials. It absolutely helps us tremendously. It's crazy how much it does. And we discovered something back in 2020 that if people get an ad shared with them from a friend or an acquaintance, they take it much more credibly than if it was just emailed to them randomly.
Yep.
Like not like a little bit, like 80% more credible.
Yep.
So all of you in the audience can be a part of the Lincoln team of pushing this message out there, getting that content out there, whether it's ads, whether it's rapid response videos, whether it's tweets from LP, whether it's Tara's news, 1,500,000 news hits every week, whether it's my news hits every week, or Reed or Stu or anybody else, sharing that message, because we all try to stay on a message that we know is going to help defeat Trump and win this election.
Yes.
So sharing that stuff, and again, subscribing and liking all the mechanical things on YouTube really helps us. Listen, I don't love any of that like arcane dark arts math stuff about how the algorithms work, but if you're liking and sharing, the algorithms work in our direction, and we can help push back harder on Trump.
That's so true. And a perfect example of that was the success of God Made a Dictator,
Absolutely.
that ad last week that went super viral.
Mega viral.
I mean, it was one of our most successful ads since 2020, I think. And it was all because people liked and shared it. I mean, within 24 hours, it had 1 million views. And then by, 2 days later, within 48 hours, it had over 5 million views because people liked and shared it from all across platforms. And that also allowed us, for people who felt inspired to help donate and, help us get it out more in other ways. We did a billboard truck up in New Hampshire.
Right.
And we've done this before, and the billboard trucks are always a great way to poke the bear when it comes to MAGA, because we're in their faces, and they drive the billboard truck around the Trump rallies and, around where he's going to be. And that drove him nuts. They were throwing snowballs, right, Rick, at our billboard truck.
Yelling obscenities, throwing stuff, guys, when you rattle Trump's people up close and personal, it makes them even crazier. They hate being confronted. They hate having people in their face.
Yeah, they hate having to face the truth.
They hate having to watch the truth about this guy anywhere, whether it's a screen on a truck following them around, or whether it's a screen on their phone or on their cable. They hate it. And you know what? There's a lot of times people hate things because they're ashamed of them.
That's right. That's
and
right.
Hatred often comes from a feeling of shame somewhere in your soul. And that hatred they're feeling is in part because deep down, and it may not change them, okay?
Right.
But deep down, a lot of them know how shitty he is and how shitty they are for being his acolytes and his worshipers. So help us keep pushing that button.
Yes, and so when they act out, then attention is brought to it, and stories get written. And we had the New York Times, the Washington Post, Yahoo, all kinds of media outlets wrote stories about our billboard truck and the reaction of MAGA. And the more people see this, the normies in life, not necessarily normie Republicans, right? We always say there's only a handful of those, but the people, but they see this and they go, oh my God. And that's where there's value in poking the bear as well, because the crazier they act and the more we amplify that crazy, the more the average good Americans that are like, we don't want that,
right,
get activated and say, we've got to make sure we don't get that again in power. So
correct.
We say that to say there's still so much crazy that's about to unfold, that we've got CPAC coming up, which is always chock full of nuttiness, and I can only imagine how much crazier that's going to be. When is CPAC, by the way, Rick? It's February, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
it should be coming up. Well,
I think I'm actually in DC that week.
Oh my God!
For a couple of days during CPAC. I've got another thing I have to do.
Oh God! I mean,
but I don't know.
Stay away from
listen, guys. If you really want to if you can't get it on Google Maps or Apple Maps, just look for the trail of crying male interns racing away with Matt Schlapp pursuing them wearing nothing but a loincloth.
Oh no! Oh God! They didn't kick him out yet.
No, the board is trying to get rid of him, but he is holding on for dear life. And there's been like an internal report about many more problems with Matt than previously been reported. And I just want to
couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
That Matt doesn't forget that for years he permitted Ali Alexander to hold at CPAC his BlogCon parties or whatever it was called.
I've been to one.
Ali Alexander's way to, I will use the word date because we're a family show, very young men, including very, very young men. And he's now admitted it publicly. So
which is crazy
about pedophilia from this den of iniquity.
Well, where they accuse, it's a projection most of the time, as we have seen. And the last time I was at CPAC was 2015. And I was actually at that Ali Alexander party. It was down at the National Harbor in Maryland.
You were at the early part of the party.
Yes, I had no idea. My point is that I was there for like an hour or whatever, and I left. I had no idea. I didn't even know about him and all of that shit before. It was like through a friend of a friend that was like, yeah, we're going to go check out this party. I was like, okay, is it an open bar?
Right.
Let's go, And then I always remember him because he looks like Sammy Davis Jr. to me. And so
I call him Scammy Davis Jr.
Right. That's actually pretty good. And so I always thought like, wow, how funny looking he looked. I was like, this guy's a weirdo. And then obviously the rest is history concerning him. He's more than a weirdo. Yeah. He's a fucking shit, that guy. And a criminal. He should be behind bars, but whatever.
Yeah.
I also wanted to talk about something else that's going on. I mentioned at the top of the show, this idea of immigration and what's going on at the border down in Texas. Now, the exit polls in New Hampshire and in Iowa, you've got these people talking about immigration being one of the top two issues, right? It's either the economy or immigration. And that's partially fair because the immigration system is screwed up. There is a problem at the border.
No doubt about it.
However, I don't know how many people know that there's been a bipartisan effort going on for the last month and a half between the White House and Senate Republicans to craft a deal. And it's a pretty tough deal. And President Biden and Democrats have acquiesced to some pretty tough border security measures and things that, and I'm a border hawk, so this is an issue that I know a lot about, and I'm all for fixing things. We've got to fix it. And Biden has been slacking on this. There's no doubt about it. But they were willing to say, okay, you know what? We'll give you this because they've been coupling it with funding for Ukraine and Israel.
Right.
Well, they had a deal. And the House Republicans, Commander Mike Johnson and the rest of the MAGAs out there, they're like, no way. We don't want to give Biden a win. We're not going to give him a political win in an election year. So they're trying to tank this. Well, they said the quiet part out loud, which is what we've been saying for years. It's why Republicans don't want to fix this issue or at least make an attempt to. They don't care about governing. They just want the political issue. Right. It's a wedge issue and they know it. It animates people, scaring them to death about how the border's not secure and these people are pouring into our neighborhoods and blah, 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 blah. Never mind trying to fix it. They don't want to. And so here we're seeing this play out. And what's going on down there in Texas, Rick? Tell them.
Well, right now, Greg Abbott has been doing things like deploying razor wire under the water in rivers as people cross them, so they are sliced to bits and die and drown. So that's really cool. That's a humane way to approach a problem like this.
But the Supreme Court just ruled that
And the Supreme Court just said
the feds can remove it, right?
And the feds have been telling the state of Texas, this is not legal what you're doing. This is not federal policy the way you're doing this. The law says this. And Texas's response was, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Well, even the Supreme Court, as constituted at today, said to Texas, no, wrong answer. Okay. And they went ahead and continued to engage in this. It's getting more and more frisky right now down there between the feds and the Texas Department of Public Safety, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
And
DPS.
the problem is you have a fundamental nullification issue going on here right now. This would be like the federal government in 1860 saying, why no, you can't do this with slaves anymore. And the southern states saying, go fuck yourself and firing on Fort Sumter.
That's right.
This is not lining up to be a great outcome for Texas or for the country. And
Wait a minute, Rick. Are you telling me that the Civil War was started because of slavery?
No, the Civil War was started because of a difference in the order of things that should be put on a s'more.
Right.
You know, some people are marshmallow, then chocolate. Other people, no. These. To her credit, Nikki Haley's fighting today, but nobody's ever letting her live down the Civil War thing.
No.
She ain't getting out of that one. I'm
never,
sorry.
Never. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But long story short, you have a conflict being engineered by Donald Trump so he can draw attention to the border. Why? Because the economy's been getting better.
Correct.
Over and over. Like we just saw the stats for the last quarter today, 3% growth, up from an estimate of 2.2%.
3.3%.
I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. 3.3%. This is an amazing number.
Yes. Why isn't that the lead story, by the way? Why is that the lead story?
Prices coming down, mortgage and interest rates coming down, job growth booming, wage growth happening for the first time in 50 damn years.
Gas is under $3.
Right, gas under $3.
Yep.
S&P is busting out records. Dow busting out records. And what that means is that pension funds and 501 or 401ks are booming right now. All of this flies in the face of the fundamental strategy of Donald Trump's campaign. He has to crash the economy, cause chaos on the border, break the system, promote violence, promote threats to win.
That's
that really tells you all that's at stake here in this election, everybody. If you've got a guy like Donald Trump who tells you, I'm going to give you more chaos, more violence, more insanity, more blood, is that the person that you want your kids to know you voted for? I think the answer with most Americans is no. 35% of Americans think that they want more of it.
Right. But 35 isn't 100. 35 isn't 50 plus 1.
That's correct.
And so they can let them then. They can wallow in their own dictatorial fetishes if they want, as long as they never have power. I mean, you're always going to have a certain amount of extremism in any democracy. However, denying them power is what disenfranchises them. So in this instance, another example is the other night, Caitlin Collins had on Ralph Northam, who was a congressman who 3 days before inauguration said that Trump should declare martial law and send in federal troops.
And spelled it M-A-R-S-A-K.
And misspelled it. Right.
Of course.
He misspelled it, of course, because they're,
Ralph Northam is like a coelacanth deep in the ocean, unexposed to light, knowledge, or the contemporary world.
Let's just say they're not sending their best. But she asked him, do you regret that? And he said the only thing he regretted was misspelling Marshall. So this is a member of Congress, Trump supporter, that has no qualms about saying that that Donald Trump should have sent federal troops in to declare martial law to prevent the peaceful transfer of power.
Right.
There are a bunch of these people out here that Trump will elevate even more so if he were to be elected again, which is why they have to be denied power. This is what they want to do. Trump is telling us that he would use the Insurrection Act, which is basically one step below martial law, to use federal troops. This is
last night nuts. He did these remarks, and yes, you're right, Tara. He's telling us what he's going to do. He gave these remarks last night. We're going to purge people in the deep state.
Again,
we're going to move them forcibly out of Washington. We're going to fire all the bureaucrats in the intelligence community because they oppose me and promoted Russia. All these things that they're saying, it's the tip of the iceberg, folks. Here's the thing. Trump's a fucking clown, okay? He's a fucking clown. He's up here at the tip of the iceberg. Underneath the waterline are Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller and the Heritage Foundation and Peter Navarro when he gets out of jail. And all of these people who do not believe in American democracy or a constitutional republic. They believe in an autocracy run by Donald Trump. and they will burn this country to the ground to get it.
Yes, we will. Speaking of the Heritage Foundation, did I see today that the chief of staff or the head of the Heritage Foundation is part of some like white nationalist group called the Bull Moose Party?
Oh yeah, he's a white nat,
Uh-huh.
and posted things like to preserve the future of the white race, and
Blood
it
and
wasn't
soil.
like the 14 words, but it was putting its tongue down the 14 words throat and trying to kiss it.
Ugh.
So,
Well,
I mean, these people are madness. In fact, I think we have a question about heritage.
Has anyone read Project 2025 and Protecting Democracy? Answer to it yet? Yeah, I have some serious catching up to do.
Yes. I've read Project 2025, and I will tell you, it really. Remember, the Republican Party of today still has the branding, the elephant logo, the office on C Street in Washington, but it's not the Republican Party you grew up with.
No.
It's a parasite, ate it from the inside out. It's like those parasites that like walk around in the shell of some other creature for a while. Project 2025, written by the Heritage Foundation. The old Heritage Foundation was a conservative think tank that believed in limited government, the rule of law, fiscal responsibility, strong foreign policy, personal, all these things that are the old cliches. Today, it is run by a bunch of white nats and crazy people who are pure Trump 24/7. They are nationalist populists. They are unlimited government conservatives, meaning they're conservatives in name only, but they want to use the power of the state and the government to deploy for their political ends.
Which is the complete opposite of what conservatism used to be before Trumpism. I mean, as someone who was a part of that world, it's the complete opposite. I can remember Mark Levin screaming in his nasally voice about the statists during the Obama administration.
I can't even get my voice high enough to do Mark Levin.
And the statists, right? It's not up there. They want to take these leftist statists, want to take over the country and take your rights from you.
You do pretty good, Mark Levin.
I used to listen to him when I used to drive home from the Capitol. When I'd get off work and Capitol Hill and drive home, I'd listen to Levin because he was on from after Hannity.
Yeah, that's right.
So I mean, come on. Anyway, this is our point is we're like nerding out on old school stuff because it's just so opposite of what it used to be, and they're doing it in plain sight, like no one notices. That's why we call them out on it. We have to call out the hypocrisy because they're trying to paper this over with names like benign names like the Project 2025. That thing is a modern communist manifesto
of radioactive political waste right now, and people who are soft pedaling it and saying, "Oh, it's just like Mandate for Leadership was in '84 and in '88." No,
or the Contract with America in '94.
It's a totally different ball game now. Speaking of Contract with America, did you see me with Luntz on TV the other day?
I was on Luntz too. I saw you, and you tore him a new one. And then he was on the
channel. I thought that was elder abuse.
No, I mean, I don't know what's going on with him. He didn't look well on Tuesday.
Who knows?
And he was on I was on set, but he was on the screen. It was him, Claire McCaskill, and somebody else. And I was looking at him and I was like, was he? I don't know. But he didn't look well.
I got nothing.
You know who else didn't look well? Rich Lowry. I don't know what's going on with him.
Rich Lowry did not look well. I saw that clip. And can you blame him? He's a guy who invested, who bet National Review on supporting Ron DeSantis, and they wrote like 120 articles in 4 months about how Ron DeSantis' shit does not smell. Ron DeSantis sweats and gold beads fall to the ground. People touch the hem of his coat and are healed of leprosy. They wrote so many stories. So many slobbery love stories to Ron DeSantis, and now they're stuck.
Yes.
Now it's like, well, we hate Trump, but we love Trump, and we hate Trump, and Biden is a communist.
Right. It's insane. It's a shame because the National Review used to be the gold standard of conservative intelligentsia, started by Bill Buckley, and it's a shell of what it used to be.
Sarah and I are time travelers from a distant Republican party.
Yes, indeed we are.
Okay, we've got two more questions.
Two more questions, yeah.
Here. Let's go.
When is Steve Bannon going to jail? We finally got Navarro, but we need Bannon in jail. Rip,
Somehow
what I missed it today
because walking around free. I don't know how it is.
But I missed it today. How much did Navarro get?
4 months. It's
you know what
shit.
though? And I don't care. I don't care if it was a week. Good. He should go behind bars.
I mean, now you can call him a convict.
Yes.
You can actually say convict Navarro.
That's correct. And all that bravado and all of that, going on Ari Melber and all that. Okay.
You want to go to jail? You're going to jail.
The laws do apply to you. The Bannon thing, I don't get it. There's a couple of people.
It drives me insane.
I don't know why Bannon's not in jail, and I don't know why Roger Stone isn't in jail. I don't know how these guys are still walking free. They're fucking criminals.
I don't know how the conditions of anybody's release allow them to plot another revolution. Call me crazy.
In plain sight. In plain sight.
Not even pretending otherwise.
I think we have another question. Gabrielle Wilson, what do you think of an injunction against Trump in the E. Jean Carroll case? He could be sent to prison or forced to perform hours of community service at a nonprofit if he defames her again.
Oh my God, I want to see him in an orange jumpsuit
picking up garbage.
Picking up trash on the Jersey Turnpike, baby. Nothing would please me more than to see that. Nothing.
I know.
Nothing would please me more.
With the Secret Service shadowing him though, like how would that work? How would that work?
That's the problem with people who think Trump's going to actually go to prison.
I know.
The service is never. They're going to say no.
Well,
Trump is going to end up, if he gets sentenced for something and convicted, and the appeal fails, they will put him in Mar-a-Lago on house arrest, and basically that'll be that.
That's what I think is going to happen, because I mean, even though it's unprecedented, and I don't know what the Secret Service rules are about that, because we've never had a felon for a president. I can't imagine that he would continue having his detail. That's up to the administration in power. They can cut that detail. So,
by the way, Michelle points out that the West Side Highway was formerly known as the Donald Trump Highway.
That is true. That's true, because he developed that whole part of West Side Highway down there by West, 58th Street or down there, that whole area. It used to be called something. My brain is not functioning right now.
But let me tell you, somebody's going to Photoshop that or Mid-Journey that.
I hope so.
Donald Trump picking up trash by the side of the road.
I hope so, because I mean, I don't know though. His makeup today that he's been wearing would probably match his jumpsuit. Can I just say something else about that? So another post of ours that has gone absolutely viral was the picture of Trump where he's wearing this god awful foundation, darker than I am, and it says, shout out to the social team for this. They said, name this foundation shade.
Right.
1 million views, people. 14,000 comments. Hysterical. The internet always wins.
I started reading the comments and I just was scrolling, and it was so creative. And that's why I love our audience in the social and here, because the people are so creative with just shoving the knife into this mofo.
Well, he deserves it. Well, I think that we should give folks, because we didn't do last week in the Republican Party yet, and I think we should give folks that. Only because, we didn't do it at the top of the show because there was just so much going on, and we wanted to get right into New Hampshire and what had happened. But I think we could do a last week in the Republican Party before we go, yes?
Yes.
I guess we figured out we wanted Trump instead of Diet Trump.
But when this man was born, God broke the mold.
Just cancel the election. Just say Trump wins automatically.
One of the things that I think is so often left out of Donald Trump's story is the patriotism.
He claimed that Joe Biden was going to get us into World War II. I'm assuming he meant World War III.
It's a little bit of a takeoff on her name, her name, wherever she may come from.
He said that he ran against President Obama. He never ran against President Obama.
Russia or China.
He says that I'm the one that kept security from the Capitol on January 6th. I was nowhere near the Capitol on January 6th.
But it's certainly not great for your climb, they call it climate.
Where we go, where we go.
Will I be using the name Ron DeSanctimonious? I said that name is officially retired.
They need to die.
Which is incapable of solving even the smallest problem.
Because as you correctly said, they're basically supporting Ron. They're basically...
Nikki Haley's not on Truth Social. Vivek's not on True Social. DeSantis is not on True Social. If you just were on
Good
True
thing
Social,
I'm there. You too, Chris.
You
You'd
might
be in trouble
able
now.
to beat Trump.
We are an institute and a powerful death penalty.
And you look at the left, and they're so sad and boring and trans.
You will die. That has to be our policy.
His favorite show on Fox News. He didn't tell me that at all. I just made that up.
It's either you guys or Gutfeld.
See, ding, 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 ding.
I can tell you this, though. If you look at Iowa, we did it right. I mean,
But you
went to all
didn't win a
99
single
counties.
county.
I mean, women want him to sign their chests when he walks into a bar. That's how much they love him.
And I frankly am the one that suffered damages. I should be given money.
For every Karen we lose, there's a Julio and a Jamal ready to sign up for the MAGA movement.
Boom. Okay. Missile launch. Pshing, boom.
Okay. I mean, what is there to say?
What is there to say?
What is there to say?
What there is to say, folks, is we will be back with you next Thursday night, same time, same channel.
Yes, we shall, because it's every Thursday now. So we are back weekly. It is 2024. We're in the fight. It's 100% go time. So we'll see you guys next Thursday. Check out Rick's podcast. Who's on your podcast this week?
I had Simon Rosenberg.
Oh, smart guy.
And I don't know who else is in rotation for the next show after that. We pre-record a bunch.
Yeah. Well, definitely, I'm sure Simon Rosenberg had some illuminating things to say. He was one of the first people to say that there would not be a red wave in 2022, that would in fact not materialize, and he was correct. So,
and folks, if you want to check out my latest essay, it's called "Late Nights with Dawn" on Substack.
Somebody should
Substack. Check it out.
Should sort of podcast called that. I think that'd be kind of funny.
I know, right?
It's pretty good.
Late Nights with Dawn.
Yes. All right, you guys.
Thanks everybody.
We'll
Have a great
week.
night.